Hey guys, welcome to my Chaos Max deck profile. So Chaos Max is a ritual based OTK deck. Played it for about a year and a bit now. It's a really fun deck. You can actually, although it's a going second deck, you can actually play quite a good amount of going first cards. So this deck is actually pretty good at going first or second. So as usual, I'll just quickly go through the cards in the deck with no explanation, just for those of you that already know what the cards do. And then I'll go back through the deck list again and go through those cards in more detail, explain the relevant effects and why I play those cards. And later on, I'll do a part 2 combo video or test hand video as well. And then after that, I'll do another video on some potential tech options for the deck. So let's get started. So to begin with, we play 3 Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. We play 1 Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon, 1 Amorphactor Pain the Draco Overlord, and 1 Lord of the Red. And we play 3 Incantation Chalice Slime. And for the rest of the incantations, we play 2 Talismandra, 2 Bookstone, 2 Candle, and 2 Pencil Plume. And that rounds off the ritual package. Next I'll get into the other monsters. So we play 2 Blue Eyes White Dragon, and then we also play 2 Manju of the 10,000 Hands, and lastly for the monsters we play 3 Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. And that finishes off the monsters. Onto the spells. We play 3 Preparation of Rites, 3 Extra Foolish Burial Goods, or just Extra Foolish Burial. We play 2 Chaos Form, 2 Advanced Ritual Art, 1 Incantation Inception, 3 Pot of Desires, and we also play 2 Creature Swap, which rounds up the main deck, 40 cards. Now for the extra deck, I have a few cards in here that I still need to add to it, and I'll tell you why. So Link Disciple at 2, but this should be 3. I just don't have the third one yet, but I will. 3 Almirage, 1 Hope Harbinger, 1 Tachyon Dragon, and 1 Xenophond the Sky Prison. And then we also play, for our extra foolish burial targets, 3 Herald of the Arclight, 2 Intis, this should also be at 3, I just don't have the third copy right now. And lastly for the extra deck, 1 Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. So with the 2 cards that I also need to add in, that'll be a 15 card extra deck. I would like to just quickly mention that although I am running Pot of Desires, I'm pretty much using this as a proxy for Extravagance. I just don't own Extravagance, but if you do have Extravagance, 100% swap it in for Desires. So my extra deck is built around using it for Desires. Using it for Extravagance. I just haven't got around to get my copies of that yet. So yeah, this is basically a proxy right now. So yeah, that finishes the deck profile. Okay, so now for part 2 of the video. So in this part, I'll just go through the deck list again, but I'll go through it in more detail and explain some of the card choices that I use and what the effects of these cards are, the ones that are relevant anyway. So to kick things off, we've got the 3 Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. So this is the main win condition of the deck. It's the card that the deck is primarily built around. So it must be ritual summoned, cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and if this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict double piercing battle damage to your opponent. So if this attacks a 0 defense position monster, it's a 1-shot kill. So we play him at 3 just to see him as much as possible, max out on the consistency with some of our incantations as well. Next we play the 1 Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon. So his effect reads that if he's ritual summoned using a Blue Eyes White Dragon, when he declares an attack, you can change all of your opponent's monsters to defense position and change their attack and defense to 0. This is really, really good. as if you have Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon and Chaos Max on the field, you're probably going to OTK. Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon also can't be targeted or destroyed by opponent's card effects. He's got 3000 attack, and he does do piercing as well. This is a really good card to out Dragoon as well, because it doesn't target. So this is really good for dealing with Dragoon, which is quite prevalent in the meta right now. You could play him at 2, but I play him at 1. But you could easily play it at 2. So the next card, Amorphactor Pain. So it's a level 8 ritual monster. So when this guy is ritual summoned, your opponent skips their next main phase 1. So this is a really good effect if you're going first and you want to just survive the turn, because it means your opponent essentially only gets a main phase 2, so they can't really do much to your board. So he's really, really good for that. But on top of that, he's basically a Unicorn, but not including Link monsters. So he negates the effects of face-up, fusion, synchro, and Xyz monsters while they're on the field. So yeah, he's a really, really good card. Great floodgate and great turn skip as well. And then we play the Lord of the Red. So another level 8 ritual. So his effect reads that once per turn, during the player's turn, when a card or effect is activated, except his own effect, you can target one monster on the field, destroy it. And then he has another effect, once per turn, during the player's turn, when a card or effect is activated, except his again, you can target one spell or trap card on the field and destroy it. So he's really good for going first, because he provides 2 forms of disruption. I wouldn't say he's as strong as Amorphactor Pain, but it can give you, in certain matchups, it's the better option. But yeah, feel free to change this one around. And lastly, for the rituals, we play 3 Incantation Chalice Slime. We want to see this guy in our opening hand max out on consistency, as he can get us to any ritual spell or monster that we need from the deck. So his effect is, you reveal him, then you can discard 1 card, which could be Chalice Slime, and then you get to special summon an incantation from deck, and the incantation effects activate when they are special summoned from the deck. So next, go through the other non-ritual incantation monsters. I'll just clear this away. So to kick things off, we've got 2 Incantation Talismandra. So his effect reads, you can reveal 1 ritual monster in your hand, special summon both this card and another incantation from deck, can't be the same one. And if he is special summoned from the deck, you get to add 1 ritual monster from your deck to your hand, and you can only use 1 effect Talismandra that turn, and only once that turn. So yeah, he's the one that you want to summon out from the deck most, to be honest. So seeing him in your opening hand isn't great, which is why I play him at 2. But yeah, he's probably the best one to add from deck, besides maybe Candle. And then we play 2 Bookstone. So you reveal 1 ritual spell to special summon him, and then an incantation from deck. And if this guy is special summoned from the deck, you get to target 1 ritual spell in your graveyard, add it back to your hand. So this guy is really good to see in your opening hand, because if you want to start your plays, you want to open up the Bookstone or the Pencil, because they don't immediately net you any advantage. They're more for the later game. However, if you do need to bring him out, then you can also summon him from deck. So yeah, he's good to see in hand, and if he's in your deck and you don't need him, that's fine. Then we play the 2 Incantation Candle. So again, you reveal a ritual spell to special summon this guy, and he special summons another incantation from deck. And if this guy is special summoned from the deck, you add a ritual spell from deck to hand. This is a really important card in the deck, because we don't have any inherent searches for our ritual spells, so he's a very important card to get off. And lastly, for the incantations, I play 2 Pencil Plume. So you reveal a ritual monster, in your hand. You special summon both this card and another incantation from deck. And if this one is special summoned from the deck, you get to add a ritual monster from your grave to your hand. So like Bookstone, you want to open this in your opening hand, because it means you can get the special summon effects off of Talismandra or Candle. So yeah, he's really good to summon out as well. And that does it for the incantation engine. Next, I'll go into the non-ritual engine monsters. Well, non-ritual monsters. So just the 2 Blue Eyes White Dragon. So I did used to play it at 3, but you really don't want to see this in your opening hand. It really clogs up your plays. It is okay if you want to go into some Xyz plays, maybe, perhaps, if you get out a Chaos Max turn 1, and then you've got 2 incantations on the field, so you can tribute summon them for a Blue Eyes White Dragon. But you don't need the 3. So what you usually do is send it to the grave with Advanced Ritual Art, which would be the preferred spell to go ahead with, and then he's live for Chaos Form after that. But yeah, you just don't need 3 if you manage your resources properly, so it just makes this deck just a little bit more consistent. Next we play 2 Manju of the 10,000 Hands, so he's he takes up 2 of our 5 normal summon slots in the deck. So when this guy is normal summoned or flip summoned, you can add 1 ritual monster or 1 ritual spell from your deck to your hand. Really good effect, just great for consistency. Only play it at 2 because I don't want it to clog the hand with too many normal summons, and because it essentially is a hard once per turn, because you're not going to be able to normal summon him more than once a turn. And then lastly, for the monsters, we play the 3 Nightmare Corruptor Iblis. So I've seen a lot of decks run Creature Swap or Xian Spy or Mystic Box at 3s and multiples, like some Xian Spy and Creature Swap. But I think Nightmare Corruptor Iblis is the better option. So it reads, when this card is normal summoned, you can target 1 link monster in your graveyard, special summon it to your field so it points to this card, but change its attack to 0, also negate its effects. So that's not really the important part of this card. So the next bit is really good. So you cannot special summon monsters except link monsters if you control this card. So if this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard from the field, you can special summon this card to your opponent's field in defense position. So going first, this acts as a floodgate against your opponent. So if you're playing against, say, Eldritch at the minute, maybe even Dinos. Actually, they do have... Dinos could maybe out this. I'm not too sure on the modern builds. But basically, there are some decks, like Zodiac, for example, which will have trouble getting rid of Nightmare Corruptor Iblis because you can only special summon link monsters. So you can't special summon any monsters from your hand, extra deck, graveyard until you get rid of Iblis by link summoning it off. But going second as well, it has 0 defense. So if you summon it in your opponent's field in defense position, that means if you attack into it with Chaos Max, you essentially get game. So the reason I play this over Creature Swap is that this allows you to go into either a Link Disciple or an Almirage, which Link Disciple allows you to draw, and Almirage allows you to protect maybe some of your monsters that don't have protection, like your Morph-Actor Pain, as well as giving you OTK potential. So it just nets you more advantage, and if your opponent wants to negate Iblis, then they essentially have to go minus for that. Whereas if they negate Creature Swap or Xian Spy, then it's a neutral advantage. So that rounds up the monsters. Next we run 3 Preparation of Rites. So this is really good for searching out Incantation Chalice Slime, just to add consistency to the deck. So it reads, add 1 level 7 or lower ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Then you can add 1 ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand. So again, this is really good graveyard recursion for your ritual spells, which is why we only run 5, because there's just so many ways to get to them, either from the grave or the deck. Then 3 Extra Foolish Burial. So this one reads, pay half your life points, send 1 monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. So normally you want to send the Herald of the Arclight with this card to the graveyard to get you a search of a ritual, monster, or a spell. But you could also send Elder Entity Intis to pop one of your opponent's cards if needed. It is a hard once per turn, but because we want to OTK, we don't really care about paying half the life points. We just want to make sure that we get Chaos Max on the field so that we can push for as much damage as possible as quickly as possible. So yeah, this is a really good card for just adding that little bit of extra consistency. So then we play 2 Chaos Form. So you use this to ritual summon your Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon or Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon. So you can tribute a level 8 monster from your hand or field, and or banish Blue Eyes White Dragon from your graveyard. And if you aren't using Blue Eyes White Dragon, the total levels of the monsters you use have to be 8. So yeah, that's just your standard ritual spell in this deck. And then we play 2 Advanced Ritual Art, which is the other main ritual spell in the deck. So this one reads, this card can be used to summon this card can be used to ritual summon any 1 ritual monster, but you must send normal monster from your deck to the grave whose level is equal to that of the ritual monster you want to summon. So this is really good for sending Blue Eyes White Dragons to the grave. But yeah, we play these at 2 each instead of 3 each because you can search them with Candle, and once you've used, or Manju, or even Extra Foolish Burial, and once you've used them, you can recur them with Preparation of Rites or your Bookstone as well. So yeah, you don't really need to run them at 3 in this build. And lastly, for the ritual spells, Incantation Inception. If you open Incantation Inception in your hand with an Incantation Chalice Lime, you can easily go +2 of this. So this guy can be used to ritual summon any ritual monster, and you use your incantations, and their levels have to either match or exceed the level of the monster you want to ritual summon. And when this card is in grave, you can send one incantation card from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard, except Incantation Inception, and you can then special summon one incantation monster from your deck, which gets its effect off, and then you add Inception back to hand. So this is great resource recursion, especially for a ritual deck, which is why we run it. And lastly, so I'll go through the last few spells that we run. So again, this is Pot of Desires, but please just consider it a proxy for Pot of Extravagance. You could run Desires on a budget, which is what I'm doing, but Extravagance is so much better, and I've built the extra deck to accommodate Extravagance, which is why we play a lot of the important cards at 3 in the extra deck, because I'm anticipating using Extravagance when play finally starts back up again. But yeah, it's just really good. Going main phase 1, drawing 2, adds so much consistency to the deck. And then lastly, the 2 last spots, we play Creature Swap. It's nice as 2 of. You don't want to play 3 in case, because it could clog your hand, but if you draw into one of them, it can come up. One thing to note as well, if you have an incantation monster on the field that's not including Chalice Slime, then you can't special summon with the extra deck. So if you swap this for your opponent's monster and you give them an incantation, they're locked out of special summon from the extra deck. So even if you don't OTK them that turn, you've at least put some form of floodgate on their field to slow them down. So Creature Swap has its uses outside of OTKing as well, which is why I prefer it to like Shien Spy or a Mystic Box, for example. But I feel like 2 is right because you will see it now and then, but you won't see it too much. So this in combination with Nightmare Corruptor Ripley can give you fairly consistent OTK potential. Okay, so now I'll go through the extra deck. So we run 3 Link Disciple. As I said before, I've only got 2 at the minute, but I do intend to run this at 3, so please consider it a 3 of. So it requires 1 level 4 or lower Cyberus monster to summon. So you use your Iblis on that. And its effect reads, you contribute 1 monster this card points to, draw 1 card, then place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. And it's a once per turn. So this is really good for a few reasons. So for a start, it sends your Iblis to the grave, which gets her effect off. And then after that, what you want to do is you want to special summon an incantation to the zone that Link Disciple points to. So once you've used its effects and you've got the resources you need, you contribute the incantation monster to draw an extra card. And the place on the bottom of the deck actually has a relevant effect because if you open up a Blue Eyes White Dragon, you can put him back to the bottom of the deck. And the reason you want to do that is just to make sure that your advanced ritual art stays live for as long as possible. So yeah, he's really good for that. Great consistency card, and also really good for floodgating your opponent. And then next we play 3 Salamangreat Almiraj. Again, play 3 of because we play Extravagance. So it requires 1 normal summon monster with 1,000 or less attack. So again, that's Iblis. So this is in here in case maybe you banish your Link Disciples or too many of them off of Extravagance and you may want to use Iblis' effect again. But Almiraj also is helpful for the 2 effects that it has. So, quick effect, you contribute this card, then target 1 monster your opponent controls. Target 1 monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects this turn. So this is really good for protecting your Lord of the Red or a Morefactor Pain. And its second effect is that when a normal summon monster you control is destroyed by battle, so 9 times out of 10 when this effect is relevant, it's going to be your Manju. While this card is in the graveyard, you can special summon this card. So it's just a nice little bit of recursion as well. And then we play the 1 Hope Harbinger. It's just a really strong rank 8. It negates 1 spell per turn and attaches it to this card's material. So depending on the matchup, this might be a good card to make. It's just tech option. And then next we play the 1 Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. So this rank 8 is very good because it helps us deal with problematic monsters that can't be turned to defense by Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon, such as, for example, you've got Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax. So because Tachyon prevents battle phase effects, he can just smack into Avramax to get rid of it. So yeah, he's very useful in niche situations, but he barely comes up. But I think he's worth running in the extra deck just so that I always have the option of outing something quite difficult. And then lastly, for the rank 8s, we play 1 number 68 Sanaphon the Sky Prison. So this card gains 100 attack and defense for each monster in the graveyards, and once per turn you can attach 1 material from this card. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. Also, neither player can special summon monsters from the graveyards. So he's a nice floodgate effective going first, just to make sure you survive the turn. And then we play 1, 2, 3 Herald of the Arclight. So these are here as targets for extra Foolish Burial. We play it at 3 because in case we banish any of Extravagance. And its effects reads that when this card is, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 ritual monster, 1 ritual spell from your deck to your hand. So again, this is just a really good consistency card. Then we play 2 Elder Entity Intis. Again, this ideally is at 3, it's just I don't have the third copy yet, but yeah, again, please consider this to be a 3 of. Its effect is that when it's sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 card on the field to destroy it. So again, this is just an extra Foolish Burial target. And then lastly, for the extra deck, we just play the 1 Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon as another random Foolish Burial Goods card. Extra Foolish Burial, I always get them mixed up. So its effect reads that during either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets a Blue Eyes monster you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So this is useful if, for example, perhaps your Chaos Max gets Dark Rulered or something, or if you've got Blue Eyes White Dragon on the field for some reason. It's just it's very niche, but it can come up. Yeah, so I guess in the Dragma matchup, if they use Fleur-de-Lis on your Chaos Max, you can put this in the grave to protect it from anything that might happen later in the turn, and then also to, interrupt your opponent's plays. So yeah, it's really good for that. So that rounds up the main deck and extra deck. So it's a 40 card main deck and a 15 card extra deck. It's quite a consistent build. As I said, you really want to go second with it. But you can go first as well if forced to do so. Maybe if you're playing against a heavy combo deck or a hand looping deck, which this will suffer against because you need as many resources in hand as possible. But yeah, as I said, I'll do a part 2 video where I'll just go over some of the combos that you can do to get to OZK, or if you go in first as well, just some of the nice little interactions you can have. And then I'll do another video where I'll just go over some of the tech options that you can add to this deck, because there's quite a few flex spots with this. This is probably by far not the best deck, but not the best deck build. It's also not the best deck at all. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.